So yeah, this is the 52nd weekly Welcome to Mystara, so I guess it's been a year. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So welcome to Mystara, everybody. I'm running late. This is a twofer, and the Shadowrun review took a ton of research, so I had to push this one back. Taking a break from the modules for a week to go into the accessories, because you can't talk about adventures week after week. So this time I'm talking about AC4 and AC11, the Book of Marvelous Magic and the Book of Wondrous Inventions. I'm Mr. Welch, and this week we're talking magic items. The Book of Marvelous Magic was written in '85, shares a credit by two of the biggest names in Dungeons & Dragons, Frank Mincer and Gary Gygax. This is the only module outside of Keep on the Borderlands that Gygax wrote for regular Dungeons & Dragons. Mincer wrote the Immortal Storm alongside almost the entirety of the rules that became BECMI. Their only other collaboration, of course, was the Temple of Elemental Evil, one of the greatest modules ever written. So it does seem a little weird that the two titans of TSR came together to work on what is basically a list of magic items that range from powerful to mundane to silly. Clyde Caldwell did the iconic art on the cover, and Doug Watson did the interior art, though that's pretty sparse. The contents of the accessory is exactly what it sounds like. It's 500 miscellaneous magic items that take up 76 pages, sorted alphabetically by type. I say 500, but that's a bit of an exaggeration because the book also includes all the magic items from the basic, expert, and companion sets, but directs you to those books instead of just repeating the text. There's 3 pages devoted to randomly selecting the magic items, but because of the amount of silliness contained in the book, you really don't want to let chance determine the item. Starting at the alternate world gate and ending with Zweeback, the book turns about just any mundane item into a magical variant. Seriously, it takes a baby biscuit and turns it into a wine enhancer. So if you have a copy of this book, your players will be spamming Detect Magic to try to find all the new magic items that you're going to throw at them. Are the curtains magical? You better check, because one of the magical curtain variants will try to eat your face. Actually, a large amount of the magic items in this book are cursed, and of those items, more than half will just try to kill you outright. Why worry about mimics when the blanket of devouring is going to try to tear you to shreds? A word of warning, if you hate puns, this book is going to annoy you to no end. Gary and Frank apparently thought the one thing D&D was missing in 1985 was bad wordplay, because they added several dozen puns in this book. The mid-80s were part of TSR's silly phase, and this book was very much part of it. The book has magic items that tie into the old TSR products like Top Secret, Gamma World, Star Frontiers, Gangbusters, Boot Hill, and Dawn Patrol. Wow, I actually haven't heard about Dawn Patrol in years. So if you're playing your game and you find an Iron Cross and accidentally summon the Red Baron to shoot all the orcs, your DM has a copy of this book. You're also going to find a lot of play on words in the list of magic items. Between the Ball of Power and the Crystal Ball, you're going to find the Baseball, which is actually quite useful because it teleports you and your gear back to a specific location. There's a lot of magic items created because of the name, and some of them are quite useful, but all too often they're just trying to get a giggle out of the reader. You get word balloons, the Barrel of Monkeys, the Batting Cage, the Bullion Cube, the Back Door, the Front Door, the Fanfare, the New Leaf, Draw Poker, and a Table of Contents. Very few of them are actually silly, they just have a silly name. A lot of the complaints with the book would have been solved just by not giving magic items dumb names. Now, if you want to use the items with a silly name, you can just rename them. And the book is straight up text with very little in the way of interior art. You have pages of text listing all the magic items. There's 500 of them, remember? You're going to be reading this book for quite a while just from all the lists you have to browse through. Each item tends to have multiple entries, so there's quite a bit of variety in the magic items to peruse, and remember, a lot of them have the cursed variant. Some of the cursed items deliberately resemble other magic items to trick you into using them, so there's enough variety in the items to keep you guessing and enough curses to keep you paranoid. The magic items don't always translate into 5th edition because of its low magic status, the 5th edition, not the book itself. The items related back to the old TSR products obviously don't work in 5e. Each item is going to need to be updated because 5th edition has very different magic item rules from the 80s version of D&D. This book was written in a time when the very thought of attunement would be considered a silly thing. The 5th edition was designed so everybody's balanced, but back in BECMI, finding an awesome magic item tended to end in Thunderdome. You could strap on every artifact and every major magic item you could find and still find a place for one more ring somewhere on your body. 5th edition, you're lucky to find a potion of healing in the Dragon's Lair. Finding the book isn't that hard, it's fairly common, and it's pretty cheap. I've seen copies go on average for about $20. It's not a book that's in demand, and they printed a bunch of them. Quality can vary, but you're not going to have a problem finding a hard copy. Of course, if you want to find a PDF, head over to DriveThruRPG, pick up a copy for $5. But this is a book you're going to read lying in bed, so grab the paper copy and sift through the jokes and the hidden gems that are stashed in it. And if you're the dungeon master, you're going to have a lovely time finding obscure items that the players will never suspect. So skip forward to 1987, and TSR decides to step up their magic making game by releasing the Book of Wondrous Inventions, and gives you 4 new magical artifacts. Now this is very much in the silly phase of TSR. Castle Greyhawk was just around the corner. There's not much in this book that was meant to be taken seriously. The book was compiled by Bruce Hurd from reader-submitted magical artifacts, and by artifacts I mean taking a lot of normal, everyday, modern, in 1980s at least, devices and use magic spells to simulate washing machines and pinball machines and other things like that. This is a very strange book. You have been warned. The book has several references to Mystara directly, and it throws in a few of Greyhawk as well. Bladderwick's human catapult was invented at the behest of Stefan Karamikos during a supposed siege at the ruins of Krakatos. Damos's ball of bowling was created in Glantry City as a new sport. Disteron's dismal disposal comes from Corindus in the Empire of Thyatis. Glantry appears a lot, like with the invention of the electric cooker, appropriately enough. The gnomish kingdom of Highforge is the birthplace of Fleabottom's Brickmac, which is merrily building new buildings as you wait. There are several more, including one from the nation of Windar. The book is not all slapstick Acme products from the Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons, however. There are some seriously deadly war machines in this book. If you want to throw something at the party that they are never going to expect, this book has your back. They've got a clockwork dragon that is downright lethal if you run it correctly. The Death Engine is a stationary rapid-fire steam-powered bolt thrower that is, while it's not 100% reliable, it is firm proof that Mystara gnomes are not automatically the goofy mad engineers like other settings. Mystara gnomes can create some of the scariest creations in Mystara, and in this particular game I made the small change of the flying city of Serain by giving them Death Engines for their point defense systems instead of like the lightning bolt and magic missile guns they had, which makes the city very well defended as these things can take down dragons easily. Another nasty masterpiece is Jaeger's Transforming Gargantoid, designed by Bruce Hurd himself. This is basically a battle mech run by magic and steam. It's stealing from the Jason the Argonauts. The Gargantoid uses piping hot water for power. If you damage the machine, the boiling water sprays all over everybody that's standing by. You can also transform into new forms, hence the name, and you can turn it into something nastier with just a push of a button. It's related heavily, and they mentioned the module Earthshaker, which was I've mentioned previously, but this is one of the things that the people who invented Earthshaker also made. Now, for every serious invention, you're going to find in the book at least 2 just absolutely silly inventions that you're going to have a hard time putting into the game with a straight face. Much of the book is just one big joke. It's hard to justify dragging a massive machine behind you that sweeps up your footsteps and make false ones behind you. Of course, you got to haul this thing strapped to your back. It's the size of a piano. There's also an inflatable dragon that's meant to be scare away anybody pursuing you. But if you stab it, it does the whole little like a balloon. Obviously, the book is best used in where magic is extremely common, like Glantry or Alphatia. Because of Alphatia's obsession with all things aerial, there are numerous inventions that won't look even slightly out of place in the Empire. Rumblebody's Flight Nightmare is literally a fort kept aloft by hot air balloons. This is described as an orc invention, but you can easily use it as a way station for Alphatian airships, or as a troop transport like they did in the book. The Castle in the Clouds is another invention that seems to be designed specifically for Alphatia, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Glantry, on the other hand, prefers magical devices that can be used as modern conveniences, so some of the sillier ones do have a home in the Principalities. There's a magical ATM, there's a Coke machine invented by a magical golem called Cola, crystal balls that can double as TVs, there's magical stoves, enchanted garbage disposals, laundry machines that worked by skeletons, even a spellcasting pinball machine. That was one of the silliest inventions. It's also one of the most dangerous as well. Sanahun's Speeding Sphere game is literally a pinball game that casts spells at you the more points you score. The benefit is you get experience points based on your score. The downside is you can get killed in the process. And a large focus of the inventions are vehicles, from the silly to the terrifying. The gnomes, of course, give you a submarine, so you can go visit the sea people or the nation of Aquas. The Oddwaddle Centipede is another gnomish vehicle. This one's an all-terrain vehicle, like a train, with rotating cross-shaped legs to move about. Prince Volaspin of Glantry makes an appearance by giving us the Dragonfly of Doom, which is an insect-shaped ornithopter that is used to combat dragons. It's not great at it, but that's why they built it. They just have to use a lot of them. The dwarves give you the Train of the Dwarven Thane, which is powered by a young red dragon as the engineer. It helps that not all red dragons in Mystara are automatically evil, so you can hire the guy to power the train. This one makes a lot of sense under Rockholm, as you can see it being something that the Dwarves would use heavily. For the most practical vehicle, there is the lowly hot air balloon. It's nothing special, but it's also the most reliable device in the book. The Gnomes of Highforge appear frequently in the book, culminating with the section of Dorfin's Little Shop of Horrors, which is a magic shop that will ship anywhere in the known world, of course with the help of magic. The section consists of more than a few items that you can acquire, even though they aren't described in as much detail as the rest of the entries of the book. They come in a variety of sizes, so you can have pixies and giants, both sailing around on an appropriate sized paddle wheeler. The end of the book has rules for making new spells and magic items, though these rules are also duplicated in the Dawn of Emperors book. Unlike Marvelous Magic, Wondrous Inventions is filled with art on almost every single page, and most of it is extremely silly. It's one thing to talk about a magical boombox, it's another thing to see a halfling dressed in 80s clothing jamming out with it. The book might not be useful in actual games, but it is a fun read. The book itself you can get for $10 brand new from DriveThruRPG, or you can spend half that and get a PDF. So those are the books of Marvelous Magic and Wondrous Inventions. It's just one big list of magic items, and the other one is a parody of off-the-wall artifacts. They might not translate well into 5th edition, but they are a window into a part of D&D that a few grognards don't want to admit happened. For a while, TSR got into a comedic mode and made some really weird books. But for the old books, these don't cost much, and you will be able to find something to add to your game. So back to the modules. I've been putting this one off for a while because so many other people have reviewed it, but I'm not going to finish off the basic modules. So the next up is Keep on the Borderlands. This is the bad boy that a huge number of gamers cut their teeth on. So until next time, ever since I was a young boy, I've played the Silver Ball.